It's Tom, it's saying I don't have permission. Oh, okay. Good morning, everybody. Sorry we are a couple of minutes late. A few gremlins this morning. We do love a morning gremlin. And welcome to this morning's live stream. Sorry, another gremlin there where my other screen started talking to me then. There we go. Let's turn you down. Perfect. We are all now sorted, ready to go cooking with gas, as they say. Good morning. Welcome to this morning's live stream. My name is Kelly Jarvis. I am the head of consultancy here at Sunshine Support, and it's an absolute pleasure this morning to be joined by my two fabulous colleagues, Gabby Gregory and Michelle Bramley Brooks. Hi, girls. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Kelly. All good, bright and breezy.
Indeed. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Yes, I'm fine, thank you. All nice and smiley and sunshiny.
Ah, that's good to hear. And perfect today's topic on live stream, which is, of course, send good news. And let's face it, we need a bit of send good news at the moment, I would say, because the send landscape is a little bit of an unknown sort of place at the moment. We're waiting for the government's white paper. There's lots of speculation about what's going to happen to send. And I think it's the perfect time to hear some really good news of when things go right, because it does happen in these really difficult journeys. We do have those glimmers, and it's really important to cling to those. So I'm just going to take a few moments just to let people join the stream. If you are watching, let us know where you're watching from in the comments. If you see me looking this way, it's because I've got my other screen, which I've now managed to successfully shut up. I'm looking this way so I can see your comments, and throughout the live stream we'll be dipping in and out of the chat, answering some of your questions, so do keep them coming. We've got our sunshine elves in the background who are going to be pinging over questions to us as well to answer in the second sort of half of this live stream. So do say hi. Hi Lisa, morning. Oh, morning sunshine elves, Kat and Rachel watching on YouTube, and hello indeed everyone watching on YouTube. We live stream on YouTube now, which is really exciting. Morning Belinda from Cheltenham, near where I grew up, or nearish anyway, where I grew up. Lots of fond memories of Cheltenham. Lovely to see you all this morning. So yes, this morning's topic, send good news, send wins. And we are very fortunate here at Sunshine Support to enjoy quite a lot of wins between us. We work really, really hard, incredibly passionate. All of our team, whether it's consultants, whether it's the operations team in the background, we live and breathe special needs and supporting the families that we help. So before we get going on telling you a few stories, good news stories, I thought it would be nice to hear from Gabby and Michelle, who you may not have met before or seen before in a Facebook Live. So Gabby, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and what has brought you to Sunshine Support?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background was as first of all, as an early years teacher in Birmingham, and then I moved up north and accidentally ended up on supply in a language provision, so an R, and fell in love. Literally at that point, it was this is what I want to do. And so I ended up staying in the language provision, getting some good qualifications around speech, language, and communication needs, and so that was sort of 15 years of that experience running that language provision. But then I had some lived send experience, shall we say, and I was using Sunshine Support as a tool for my work and learning about send in as a Senko, but then I actually came to Sunshine Support from a personal experience, the lived experience reasons, and and then ended up sort of accidentally working here, but yeah, best move ever.
Oh, that is a good story, and I think you're sort of downplaying really how just how amazing you are. I mean, we're so fortunate to have you. Your families are particularly fortunate to have you because you bring that wealth of experience in those different types of settings. You're a very naturally empathetic person, and I think that is directly contributionary to the wins that you've enjoyed with your families, because you're not combative in your approach. You go into dealing with schools and professionals with a very firm uh, and sort of relentless drive for, you know, high quality support and provision, but you do so with such a disarmingly pleasant nature. And schools, I think, really enjoy the fact that you know what it's like firsthand at the coalface all the time, and that sort of approach has directly led, I think, to some of those successes you've had in those families. So I'm so glad you found Sunshine Support, and we we'll hope you stay here forever because you're just amazing. And Michelle, how about you? What's your background and how?
So I've been in Send for about, in the world at Send for about, just over 35 years, which makes me feel quite ancient, right back to the statement days. So we are going back a bit. But I've done various different roles. So I started off at the Peto Institute in Hungary doing conductive education, then worked for Scope over here and implemented that sort of programming. Then you go on to have your own family, don't you? And sometimes the hours don't work. So I ended up in an area special school where I worked with some amazing teachers and families and children, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And one of the biggest things that I got is that I was able, through my head teacher, to go out into the community to support mainstream schools, to give them the knowledge that they were missing at that point in time because they were trying their best. And also to be able to provide education for chronically sick children, to be able to spend some time leaving school, going to their home and actually providing them education. And then after a number of years of doing that and going around in Japan and seeing how, you know, special educational needs works in Japan, I decided, right, you know, I've got to go to university and support teachers to share my knowledge of what I've learned over all these years. And ended up doing undergraduate sort of SEND training as well as research. And then I had the opportunity to become the course leader to upskill teachers to become Senkos, which was absolutely amazing and heartbreaking because they work so hard. And it's something extra on top, as anyone who is a teacher would know, it's something extra on top. And to be able to offer families that, you know, important knowledge that they go to, you're their first point of call, you know, is really difficult. So, and then I stumbled across Sunshine Support as the government changed the whole training system for SEND, as we well know. I'm very lucky to have joined and be able to continue that journey of what I've learned, put into practice, and continue to support families, which I'm very passionate about.
That is an amazing story, and I know that everybody watching will be like clapping their hands together in delight, because one of the things that we talk about a lot um, in our webinars, in our trainings, we do a lot of training for schools, we do a lot of training for parents as well, both in person and online. One of the big features of things we talk about is how the training system for teachers needs a real overhaul. And there's just not enough SEND training embedded in the training that you need to become a teacher. And it's both wonderful that, you know, you've been directly involved in supporting those Senkos, but it's also heartbreaking because obviously the way that the training has changed has meant that role sort of wasn't prioritized as much, and that's sort of going the wrong direction, isn't it? Really, we need it to go more in the other direction. And this is why we're so proud to exist at Sunshine, because we have such a diverse range of consultants working directly with families. So we have people like Michelle who have directly trained becoming Senkos and teachers and leaders in SEND. We have individuals who have been senior leaders within education, like Gabby, like me. I've been our head of the SEND Training Institute, which is our sort of specialist area of sunshine support, especially for professionals. Is headed by Lindsay, who was a really respected head teacher before she came to Sunshine. But then we have people with other backgrounds too. So we have people with legal backgrounds, people who've worked in law firms. It really does mean that when people come to us and they're seeking those SEND wins that we're going to be sharing with you shortly, we can tailor the approach and the person directly to the type of win that people are wanting to see for their family. So we have a whole branch. Our pre-litigation branch is for families who really need sort of a more legal spin. So if you need to speed up processes because the local authority have lapsed in their legal duties, timescales, things like that, you can have a pre-action protocol letter from the pre-litigation team. If you need somebody who can just go in and come to a school meeting with you so that you're not feeling a little bit gaslit, or you know, the power imbalance is a bit off, you need somebody who knows education and who has worked in schools, we can pair you up with that sort of person. And this is why we are so proud of what we do, and this is why we enjoy so many wins for our families. I'm just going to take a moment just to come back to the chat and say hello to some people. So since we've done our introduction, some people have joined. Tilly, oh hello Tilly. Tilly has shared that she had a win last week with one of our consultants, Grace, who fighting our corner for refusal to issue an EHCP, went to mediation, decision got overturned. We cannot thank Grace, Gabby and the team enough. Oh, that is brilliant, Tilly, we're so pleased. Emma's shared that obviously this week SEND has been very much in the news with lots of protests going on, the very quiet protests, the shoes protest, you probably heard about that, all around the country, and people are very, very proud to have been part of those numbers. Bringing SEND to the forefront of people's awareness, which is really, really important. So we know that the SEND landscape is changing. We know that the white paper is coming up. We are encouraging, aren't we, girls, for people to still do things like write your request letter to ask for an EHC needs assessment, because some people are a little bit on the fence. They're a bit like, well, I don't know if we should do it or not. You know, what if they change? What if they go? We'd absolutely encourage you to keep going, because as Tilly has just shared, there are literal wins happening every day at the moment for families who are applying for a needs assessment to be undertaken. With our team support, it's happening. So Gabby, over to you. Do you want to share with us a recent SEND success win that you have had?
Oh, goodness. Okay, so probably the most recent was an overturn for a refusal to issue. The interesting thing about this one, though, was it started off as a refusal to assess. So the local authority had said, no, we're not going to carry out an assessment for this child. We did overturn that. And as we talk about, that is quite a low legal test. So whilst it's not a huge win, it is a huge win for the family. What's a little bit more difficult, though, is when they say, oh, we're not going to issue. That can be a little bit trickier. And this local authority, a neighbouring one of mine as well, which was interesting as well, they took us all the way to tribunal. Now, what we often find is that for refusal to assess and refusal to issue, if you're going into an appeal situation, often happens on the paperwork rather than having to attend in person. But this local authority decided they were going to take us all the way through to the actual hearing. So we had a half-day hearing and we presented all our evidence. We were very, very clear. We referred to particular pieces of case law and we got that overturned. And I was really proud of that, because I think for that family, they had to battle so hard for such a low legal test. So for me, that was quite a big win in that sense. We do other big cases, but I know we'll talk about those a little bit later. But for me, that's probably one of the most recent and one of the most pertinent, because of the battle from the start, really, Cal.
Yeah, and it's so heartbreaking, because often these wins, which we really, really want to celebrate, do come with the other side, which
Mm.
is the battle. And it's so frustrating. I say this so often when I talk to people about what I do for a living. I say I love my job. I live and breathe it, to a healthy extent, balanced with my family. But I'm so frustrated that we have to exist, because it shouldn't be a battle. And the most frustrating bit is that families are battling just simply to assert their right to the things that they are entitled to for their child. So it's not like they're asking for extra, simply fighting to ensure that the law is followed.
Yes.
And that shouldn't be a thing. Families should just be able to trust that the law will be followed. And the reality is that that's often not the case. And I know, Michelle, with your background in training Senkos and things, you will have probably encountered quite a lot of misinformation, because we encounter it from Senkos all the time. Because unfortunately, the reality is that Senkos are given messages by powers that be in the local authority that are also not true and not accurate. So, often we're having to go in and talk to Senkos and change hearts and minds a little bit, and sort of say, respectfully, that's not actually true, but let me help you, because I'm not here to fight with you. I'm here to sort of help you and give you the tools to push back on some of these things. So, Michelle, do you want to tell us a little bit maybe about a win that you've had? Because I know you've not been at Sunshine for long, but I know that you've already started impacting families in a really amazing way. So do you want to tell us a little bit about some of your cases?
Well, I'll talk about one that's not quite a win, but more of an empowerment, if that's all right. So I met with a family that really wanted some support for, the cusp of changing at that's, being 16 and what's going to happen next, and that being very intelligent child who's then going to become a young person, but not being able to access that education. And having that knowledge shared with them about all the different paths that they can take. I recently had feedback, an email back from this parent who had then gone on to share what I had said with their child. And they said the best thing is that they actually saw the weight lift off their child's shoulders. And that was priceless for them in all, and we're not there yet. We're definitely not got to that end point, but that's just empowering with knowledge to say, no, that is not true. And there are ways that you can, carry on your educational sort of like path, as you would like to call it, but not knowing that and feeling it's all over is really horrid. So that empowerment for that family was really lovely to receive back that feedback. So yes, that's like one that I would really like to empower, and that I've had. And another one that I had is doing an ECNA and actually working collaboratively. So when they've come back and they've gone, no, don't think we'll assess. And then when we actually all come together and we all speak, it's suddenly realised, oh, the paperwork's not being read properly, and we will re-look at that, and the parents like, oh, they're going to look at it again. Yes, they are, because they are overworked in the LA, as we well know, and sometimes things do get missed. So being able to empower them and once again to say, look, there are stages we can go through and work collaboratively, and everyone is learning from each other, and we will get there. So that's been lovely in my very short time I've had at Sunshine.
That is amazing. And I think that underpins Sunshine Support's whole ethos, I feel, because we are about collaboration, and we are about empathy, and we are about seeing the human being behind everything. And that goes for, professionals too, provided, that they're not and a pain in the neck to deal with. Most of the time, I really do believe that people go to work because they want to make a difference. They don't go to work to ruin people's lives on the whole. And I think I spoke to a local authority caseworker recently who was surprisingly candid, actually, and probably was very open. And I wasn't necessarily expecting the level of openness, but I learned a lot. And one of the things I learned was that this particular local authority is operating at about 40% capacity of SEND staff. So they, when we talk in general terms about local authority caseworkers having big caseloads and being really overworked, we probably don't know the half of it. Now, that doesn't make it better for any family at all. And it doesn't mean that we should go, oh, okay, never mind, because that wouldn't get us anywhere and it would leave children in crisis. But I think it really does help when you deal with people, just to be able to say, you know, hi, I really need an answer to this email. I appreciate you're going to be overworked. Ping me, got it. Let me know I'm on the radar. Let me know when I can expect a reply, because often our families need that. And that can be a little teeny tiny win that makes a big difference to a family. You know, if you're constantly emailing, you're not getting an answer, just being able to say, hey, caseworker, I see you. You've got a lot on. Just be like, yeah, I'm here. Give me a date, and then we'll shut up and leave you alone. And then we find that that little touch of understanding can often go quite a long way with opening up those early stages of communication between a family and a local authority. I mean, it's so amazing when we think about it. Sunshine Support Now has been going since October 2017. So it began, we had COVID, everything sort of went online, and it really did open up our reach to people going more online. And whether you've been here for, you know, 5 years, which is me, I've been here for nearly 5 years now, or whether you've been here for just a matter of a few months, like Michelle and some of our other consultants, those successes for families and successes where we, you know, start working with a professional who might have one view, and then a little bit like steering a big boat, they come around to another view by the end, because that's a big success. Whether you've been here 5 minutes or 5 years, those wins just never get old. I've had a couple which I've just so proud of. Some basically my specialisms within Sunshine are education otherwise than in school, so EOTIS. I've sort of fallen into that as a specialism. It was never coming from education. It wasn't even something that was on my radar, but it's become something that I do now for the majority of my families. Or if it's not EOTIS, it's fighting at tribunal for independent placement, whether they're independent specialist placements or independent mainstream placements named in Section I. That tends to be what I do a lot of with people. And therefore, I've been really lucky to have experienced really quite massive wins for some families. I have a family where we had a EOTIS tribunal, and the package that we managed to win at tribunal is worth over £61,000 for that youngster, which on paper is obviously incredible. But what's amazing is the detail of the things that went into the package, because they are so bespoke and unusual for the needs of this young person that even I was sort of thinking, are we going to achieve this? It's things like birds of prey therapy. Being able to go to a Warhammer social event and have it deemed educational. That was a massive argument to have, but we managed to do it because, you know, evidence in a tribunal is king or queen, and we really had to be very, very creative and clever with our evidence streams to get these things. You know, one-to-one swimming in a private pool. That was really hard to get. We managed to get that. And it was an upshot of really, really good collaborative working between me, the parent, all the professionals on board, but also, you know, weirdly, the local authority with whom we were in an appeal, because I think sometimes when you go into appeals, it's easy to think, oh, it's us against them. And the other side are going to try tactics and things, but actually there's some case officers who definitely see things like the working document process when you work on an EHC plan together as being a very sort of two-way street. You know, they they want to get it sorted out. They don't necessarily always want to go to a hearing. So being able to foster that type of relationship is the side of tribunals and appeals that you don't always. So when you're a consultant, you're sort of spinning all these plates. You're doing a political plate spin with, what sort of caseworker am I dealing with? What sort of approach do I need? You're doing the sort of taking a parent through a tribunal who may not have ever done it before and may have, thoughts in their head about how it will be. So we're sort of educating and training that way. You're dealing with all your witnesses who often find tribunals quite daunting, so being able to bring them along with you. So personally, I just find it really, really satisfying, and it's even better when you get a win like that EOTAS package out of it. Dealt with a family as well recently who were wanting to name an independent mainstream school, so what you would call a private school, on the EHCP. We were successful, it was resolved, we didn't even go near the hearing, and the family said to me, I've just had this strange email which I just I think something's gone wrong. And I said, oh, what's the matter? We've done it. And they said, well, they're telling me that I don't have to pay the fee. I've tried to pay the fee, but they won't accept it. And I was like, how have we missed this? So if an independent school is named in section I, then the local authority is responsible for all of it, provided there's no sort of wording that they've tried to sneak in there about how you'll pay for it. The local authority is named in I. It says that school name in I. They pick up all of it. And the family somehow hadn't realised that that was the case. And then I had 2 crying parents on the Teams call because they were like, what? We don't have to pay anything. And I was like, no, this is great. And then I got really emotional because I hadn't realised how much that meant to them. They were really like scrimping and saving, like many families do at the moment when they're looking at the private sector, because they're thinking, I need those smaller class sizes for my child who's really sensorily overwhelmed. Scrimp and save, gone are the days where private schools are thought of as only for the posh people. People are doing everything they can to send their children to these smaller settings. And this family were just over the moon. So it's just amazing. I'm going to go to the chat just for a moment before I come back to you guys to tell us about some of your most memorable wins. I'm going to say there's some lovely comments in the chat from people who have been supported by our team. So Lisa, currently being supported by the wonderful Sunshine with a refusal to assess now. I don't know what I'd do without them. Oh, Lisa, I'm so glad that you found us because, this is our bread and butter stuff to help you, and you're in good hands. We like to describe ourselves as being the most knowledgeable cheerleader, because often parents do have the skill, they've been gaslit by people and stuff, and they just need that little bit of, hey, you've got this, we're behind you, we're your safety net. And it's just so, and what you were saying, Michelle, about empowering, it's that. Lillian, we were near breaking point with our son being excluded from school. We then approached Sunshine Support. Lindsay helped us through the appeal process. Our son is now in a specialist school and thriving. We can't thank you enough. That is a great win. Lindsay's amazing. Lindsay heads up our SEND Training Institute, so she's next head. She is absolutely formidable. I've watched her in meetings and she terrifies me, but she's so calm and polite and lovely. But my goodness me, you don't mess with Lindsay. Gosh. So let's hear from you guys. Gabby, what's your most memorable SEND win?
Oh, can I give you 2 examples? Amazing. Okay, so the first one was it was a BF&I appeal. So that's where you're doing lots of work on the working document and you're looking for a placement. And the family had asked for a particular independent special school, but it was going to be an hour away. And the local authority said, no, absolutely not, too expensive. We're not going to pay for the travel, the transport or anything. We're just going to continue going out to consultation. And then the family found another school that they really liked. And it was closer. And so they said, okay, we want to change our appeal. We want to go for this school. And we said, yep, okay, we'll do that. So we did all the paperwork. We got a long way into the appeal, working document pretty much sorted out. And then the local authority came and said, okay, we'll name the first school that you said you wanted. but we won't know your new preference. And so we ended up in a hearing. It was a long hearing, but we eventually got the parents the school that they wanted, not the school that the local authority eventually said they could have, but then they didn't want. But not only that, we got one-to-one support for the first year, and we got all therapies as well. So that was incredible, and that was really difficult. What I loved about that, though, was that we supported in that empowering way. So I would meet with the parent and I would describe what the parent needed to do, and then she would go and do it, and then she would say, now can you check it? Yeah, that's great, let's get that in. It was a fantastically collaborative approach with the parent. So that was a great one. Another one is, one of my areas of real interest is attendance, only because I have had a child who has struggled with attendance. And the family they had a lot of professionals involved, who were essentially saying that the family didn't want to send their child into school, which was absolutely not the case. And long story short, this family now do not have those social care people involved. They were removed from the situation, and the child then was provided with Section 19 education, so temporary education, did not have to attend the school that she was struggling with, and is now in an independent specialist. So, but that was, I mean, that was a year-long piece of work, but it was very, very worthwhile, and that parent was not penalised for the difficulties her child was having.
Oh, that's so good. And it's interesting as well where you said it's a year-long piece of work. I think it's really important to contextualise some of these wins in that they're not quick, for lots of different reasons. And you know, even things like when we're managing a tribunal situation, like an appeal situation, the wait to the hearing can be up to a year. And that can be quite difficult to get your head round as a parent, because you just think, oh my gosh, you know, we've just got to wait. But there's the appeal itself is the important bit, and the appeal is the year-long process. The tribunal hearing really is not just the end of it, but it's something that you are actively spending the appeal time trying to avoid needing. And that is sometimes why you need that time to cross all the T's and dot all the I's, because to prove something in law, you need evidence. And I always am very open with my families in that I always say, you know, if I don't strong enough, then I'm not just going to go blind and we'll just hedge our bets. We've got to firm up our evidence, and things like arguing for your case, Gabby. You know, you were looking at two specialist schools, both of which were quite a high fee for the local authority to pay, and these sorts of discussions, even me as a consultant doing these tribunal representations, I have to go and do my due diligence and say, right, let's look at all the possible schools on the table. Let's discount all of these. Let's disprove these. Let's get costing comparisons. Let's do everything really thoroughly. It's not good enough to go into a tribunal hearing just being able to say, well, this is what we prefer. This is what we just know that this is the better setting. We have to go through those motions of making every bit of evidence watertight, and the attention to detail that requires is insane. It's meticulous. I've been known to dig out floor plans of schools to argue why there's not enough room for an extra child in that mainstream classroom, and all of these things. You know, really forensic digging to be able to say why we are right. And that's not quick. So it does take some time. Michelle, as a new person at Sunshine, what are you most looking forward to as you become more embedded? Where do you see sort of your areas of specialism go? So Gabby, we've got in my IOTAS world and independent schools. What are you looking forward to achieving for your families most?
Well, My area of sort of passion and specialism is behaviour, but the language that we use within behaviour and what behaviour actually is, it's a form of communication. And I really quite enjoy supporting families that have come to me and said they've been suspended, and you're thinking, why are they being suspended? They've been misunderstood. They shouldn't be suspended. That provision should be in place. So we start unpicking it all. And so that's where I see where I'd like to develop within Sunshine Support, because that is my area of PRUs. I love PRUs. Not many people, everyone goes, oh, I'm terrified of a PRU, we don't like PRUs. But actually, when you look at the education that they can provide sometimes over a class of 36 children, sometimes actually it's not a bad place to be in the interim. So it's sort of like looking at all those behavioural bits is where I hope to go, and I always seek out and look for families that need that support. But really, I just enjoy supporting families and ensuring that we can get there. I enjoy bringing them aboard. I enjoy empowering. I enjoy learning from everybody within the Sunshine advocacy team, because we've come back from so many different backgrounds that we're always learning from one another, and that joint learning, and also learning from parents and their experiences, and then sharing that, it's so valuable, and it's so rewarding. So
yeah, it comes back to that empowerment, isn't it? And that's a really key value, I think, that we hold at Sunshine. And Gabby's story about how she worked really collaboratively with a parent, and the parent, you could see her, couldn't you, Gabby, growing in confidence the more that you interacted.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it was interesting because as sad as it was when she came to us for the original support, and she came into our sort of allocations team, you could see she just had enough. And then by the end of it, I was describing her as an Erin Brockovich. She was, she was out there and she was researching the law, and she was so empowered. And that for me was the win. It was the fact that she felt able to do that, and she felt that she didn't need to give up.
Yeah, and it's a lifelong thing, isn't it? Once you've given somebody the tools to do it themselves, it is it's so valuable. And it's as big a win as, the young person getting the placement they want or the provision that they want. And it's great because it's transformative for whole families as well. It's not just the young person themselves, it's all the siblings, it's parents who, they say things like, oh my gosh, I've got my child back, which is just the most amazing thing. I'm going to hop over to the chat now because I saw a lovely message from one of our friends of Sunshine, Soraya, who's yours and I had the most crazy big win with an EOTA situation, in that Soraya sent me an email and was like, Kel, all those that EOTAS package that we wrote into that draft plan, it's all just been agreed without an argument. And I was like, no, we booked in this whole long meeting to sort of thrash out our appeal process, what we were going to do next, how to complain. We booked in this massive meeting. And so I was like, we're going to have a 5-minute chat because we've got a plan that's finalised with the whole package in it. I was just like, are you joking? But then again, this is one of those things that we'd worked on backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, emails, changes of caseworker, meetings where we say the same thing, meetings that could have been an email. And you just felt like, someone, Rebecca's popped in the chat, it's all delay tactics. And I'm like, yeah, a lot of the time it is. But then when you get the right combination of a useful and responsive caseworker and Sunshine Support's relentless tenacity, and a parent who will not give up, even when they are breaking inside, this is where we capture you and we're like, hey, we've got you, we're going to do this together, we're a team now, you're not on your own. When you get that combination right, it's magic. And Soraya said, yes, all chosen providers are being agreed to as we speak. Makes me so happy.
That's amazing.
Monica has just asked whether we can watch this recording anywhere later today, and the answer is yes. I don't know if it's later today, don't quote me on that. Our Sunshine Elves in the background are working on it, but all of our live streams go on our YouTube channel. So please do pop on there. There are previous live streams you might want to look at as well. And this one will go on there too. So I'm going to, we got any questions on YouTube as well? Our Sunshine Elves may well be pinging us over some questions on YouTube. If you do have any questions, let us know. And Kat has quite lovely put the YouTube Sunshine support channel in there. So Monica, you'll be able to watch this later on there. I've got another win that I could share with you actually. And it does show that wins come in all shapes and sizes. So I'm working with a family who once lived in one local authority and now live in another local authority. And there are legal processes when you change local authorities that have to be followed between changing one plan from one local authority to another. Now, this family I've worked with now for 4 years. So I've been on the journey where their son was in an independent school. That failed. He was then out of school. We then applied for and successfully got him in EHCP, but only having to appeal refusal to assess, which was then conceded, appeal refusal to issue, which was then conceded. So again, delay. Then we got a final plan, and appalling, like it was an abomination on many fronts. The evidence from the EP was terrible. The wording was unlawful. The plan didn't help him in any way and didn't give him a pathway into accessible education at all. And then we appealed. And in the middle of the appeal, the family then changed county to a different one. So then we had to deal with all of that administrative sort of complication of changing county within the middle of an appeal. Then the new county, so we got EOTUS agreed, and then the new county then completely missed timeframes on finalising the plan, then didn't give the family any money to make any of the provision on the EOTUS package, just disappeared into a black hole, refused to respond to anything. I put in a complaint, that was not responded to within the timeframes. We then pre-action protocol lettered them about 3 times on 3 separate issues. The local authority then decided that the comeback to the PAP letter was to have another annual review rather than actually address the plan in any meaningful way. So we had that, we jumped through that hoop. And this week, after goodness knows how long, we have a finalised EOTUS package with the whole lot agreed. And we are now just waiting for the money to land in the bank account. So it's not quite over. Meanwhile, this lad's sibling is also now going through the needs assessment process and has had an assessment, but they've now had a refusal to issue. And this is somebody who hasn't been able to go to school for like 3 years. So don't really know why we're refusing to issue an EHCP. So here we are in appeal again. Couldn't make it up. But we are finding now with this family that we are chipping away. We are just, again, relentless tenacity, not giving up, not accepting not being replied to. Chip. And we're finally there with one of their children and we're getting there with the other. But it's crazy. And Soraya, I'm going to have to share this with you, Gabby, it probably make you emotional, has just popped on our chat. I want to add that both Kelly and Gabby have changed my children's lives individually. Kelly has won an amazing EOTUS package for us, and Gabby an independent SEM for my eldest, who went from a non-attender to a 93% attendance in his first year, was described.
Oh, wow. 93% attendance, that's fantastic. Doesn't that just show when you get the right setting what can change?
That's brilliant. That's fantastic.
Amazing. That is amazing.
It is amazing. Oh, I just love it. We had a lovely message about a consultant that we have on our team who's just gone on maternity leave, actually, Emily. Emma has said, Emily greatly with our son's refusal to assess needs, so refusal to do needs assessment. Local authority conceded last week. Tribunal would have been any time from until the 3rd of December. So incredible. Emily's off on maternity, awaiting her new sunshine arrival. But her wins are still coming in, which is great. And I know I've got a sneaky suspicion Emily might even be watching this live stream, so I hope she is and has heard that, because that's a really, really lovely win. Only just come across you guys, says Joe. Hi, Joe. I'm so pleased you're here. Welcome. Welcome to the Sunshine Extended family. It's amazing. I'm just starting out in a much smaller way. Spent some time with a parent and child yesterday, watched the child go from no eye contact to being fully part of the conversation. Mum's shoulders seem to get lighter and lighter. Oh, well done, Joe. It's so good when parents can support parents like that. It is just lovely. We're all part of that tribe here, aren't we, guys? That is just a dream. I love that. So we keep your questions coming in. You've got our company for 8 minutes. If you've got any questions, do let us know. We've got 3 consultancy minds here that you can pick the brains of, that would be delighted to tell you about. So Michelle, just coming back to you again, really, because you're growing your caseload at the moment. You've got families coming in all the time. You have capacity right now, because lots of our team are actually at capacity and can't take any more families on, but you've got capacity to take on families, haven't you? So what would you say to those families who are sort of thinking, you know, should I get somebody to help me? Is it the right pathway for me? What advice would you give them, do you think?
I would say yes, absolutely. As you said right at the start, that white paper is not due. Now, if we go anything with regards to, the right support, the right place, the right time, and how long that was delayed for, we've got a lot of time. And at the moment, nobody really knows what's in it, but they seem to be just breaking it down into parts. So they're not actually going to get rid of it all by the looks of it. So yeah, I've got capacity to take it in, and we know it takes time, but some cases can actually go through quite quickly depending on what's within them and what's required. I picked up a lot of Emily's cases, bless her, so we're partially through those. So that win that has come through, that Emily is aware, it popped up in our emails, which was fantastic. It was like, oh, no tribunal there. But yes, absolutely, because we will share our information with you, we'll empower you. We will do the work that you want us to do, and we will be guided by you. But having the knowledge of the law behind us as well, we can actually say to you, no, that's not quite right, and then empower them again, so that if they want to then take on that responsibility and just do some more work themselves, they absolutely can, but they're guided. And like you say, we've got them, we've got their backs, we're always here. And even if they just pop in for some information and pop out and then they pop in again, that's absolutely fine, because we've still got them. We don't forget them. So, which I find is absolutely lovely at Sunshine Support. But as having capacity, yes, I enjoy it. I sort of bring it in. I love detail. I'm an ex-researcher, so give me detail and I will look for those detail and those Weasley words and everything that shouldn't be there. That makes me very happy. Yes, I live and breathe it, a bit like you, Kelly. So.
Oh, that's so good and so encouraging, I think, for families who are just thinking, oh, is it the right thing for me? I don't know whether to do it or not. It's great to hear that you're there, ready, waiting, and so is our whole consultancy team, actually. So Gabs, I've got a question for you in the chat, and this is probably, I'd say, a bit of a long answer, so it will probably be our last question of the day. How do we find the right setting for our nearly 15-year-old who can't attend his mainstream school, lots of sensory issues and complex needs? It's such a minefield, isn't it, when you're choosing a setting? What advice would you give, Gabs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. It is really difficult, and it's very, very difficult when you've had a failed placement because you don't know what you're looking for. I would say, obviously, Google's your friend, do your searches, but also talk to people, talk to other families, talk to people in chats, because whilst, as you say, Kelly, there are incredible local authorities out there doing lots of really hard work and have great information on their send local offer, they don't always have every school in the area on there, and they don't always have every alternative provision that you might be looking at if you're looking for interim education. So I would say do your research. If you've got a consultant at Sunshine Support. We do what we call placement searches as well. So you can always ask your consultant for that support. And because as a team, the knowledge of what's out there across the country, we're from down south all the way up north, practically in Scotland. So we have a huge amount of knowledge about the types of provision and the schools that are out there. So definitely talk to people, get on our academy. If you're not on our academy, you'll have free access. Well, I say free access, obviously there's a subscription for the academy, but you would then have access to our, what do you call it, Kelly? Our
Message
our message board, exactly that.
based, where you can just post your questions. Consultants can answer your questions. You can talk to other parents. It's like a sort of little back door into a bit of advice without, you know, necessarily having a consultant yourself. It's an amazing platform. And as Gabby said, it's a bit like Netflix, or other TV providers are available, where you do like a monthly thing and you can cancel at any time as well. There's also an area on our website that you might find really helpful. This is a question from Belinda about the settings. Belinda, if you pop on our website, there's a completely free resource that you can download, which is like a checklist of questions you should ask and things you should look for when you are going to view a setting for the first time, to work out if it's useful. So there's questions on there that you probably wouldn't have thought of, and things to look for that you might not otherwise look for, because that list has been put together by teachers who know all of those little, and it is sort of like behind the curtain moment of what you might be looking for. So go hop on our website and download that, because it's really good. It's completely free. You just pop in your email address and it sends you a copy. Yeah, I think it's really hard choosing a setting, isn't it? Because there's often not quite the right one, and you have to sort of think, right, what can I compromise on, because the other bits of it are doing what they need to do, and that can, as a parent, feel really scary, because you're thinking, what if I compromise on something that I think is compromisable now, but then down the track it's not. I have this conversation with families all the time, and I always say the same thing, which is, whatever decision you make for your young person is the right one. Be confident and proud in that, because at the moment you make that decision, you only have the knowledge that you've got. You can't know what you don't know, and whatever decision therefore you make will be the best possible one in that moment with the tools that you've got. And you therefore, you know, you really do need to give yourself some grace on that one. And you know, if you have an EHCP, that's what the annual review process is for as well. You can you know, have an emergency interim review before you get to the full year if you think that things aren't going well. There's a whole webinar actually on choosing settings on our Sunshine Academy, which is worth watching as well, all about the different types of settings, how you go about choosing them. I would definitely recommend that. So I think that is pretty much everything concluded, ladies. It's been an absolute pleasure to share this morning with you both. Thank you so much. And maybe I can come to each of you in turn just for a really quick final thought. If you have a message to give to families who are seeking a win, who find that it feels all a bit helpless, what message would you give them? Gabby, what would you say to those families?
Oh, put on the spot. I would definitely say, don't give up. When you feel like giving up, that is the point that you need to keep pushing. It's a bit like being in labour. Don't give up, keep pushing. That's my advice for the day.
Wow, that's a special bit of advice. Michelle, what about you? What's that message that you give to families?
I would say it's the small steps. It's the small steps that you take, and each step you take, you get closer to your goal. And always put your young person right at the centre of everything, and remind everybody that you work with that it's actually them that are at the centre, and that's why we're doing it. I had a beautiful picture sent to me of a young person who I'd done their EHCP for, and they got their provision, and suddenly this picture came, and that person became real to me, because obviously it's a name on a paper for us sometimes. And yeah, so we're with you for every step, and every step is very important. So like Gabby said, it's a bit like going in labour, but you will get there, and there's always people around you to support you. So reach out.
Thank you so much, girls. And thank you, everyone watching, for your great comments and questions and your lovely, lovely feedback. It does mean so much to our consultants who work so hard, often at strange times of the day, and, you know, checking emails when they probably shouldn't be because they're desperate to hear about a tribunal situation and all of these things. It is so uplifting to hear people's feedback, and we're so pleased that we're making a difference to people. That's why we do what we do. So thank you so much. And we'll conclude there this morning. Don't send to people who you think might be interested and will learn something and might need a bit of that help themselves. Please do share far and wide. More people we can get to, the better. So thank you very much, everyone. And we wish you all the best for a lovely rest of week.